Namaskar and welcome to this exciting episode of Sattology, Debunking Mythology. Mythology comes from the Sanskrit root word myth, which means a fake lie or imagination. Mythology means a science or study of fake lie or imagination. So whenever you call your history as mythology, you are actually killing yourself, your own ancestors. And the funny thing is, if you ask any followers of the Abrahamism history, and you tell them mythology about their history, they feel offended. So why do you use it for your own history? Because this term was coined to tell the natives that your history is mythology, it's not real. Now, opposite of that is Sattology, because in Sanskrit, opposite of myth is Sat. So Sattology means science of truth, the study of truth. And when you say your history is Sattology, that means you're truthful. And then you can say the other guy's history is mythology. Because Ramayana and Mahabharata have been proved historically to be accurate to contain accurate geographical information. I have proved it myself in 3 books of mine. And there are many, many scholars like me or students like me who have also done it in their own books. And including the latest Chagos Island, and we're going to do a show on this on Sunday, where we're going to prove that the Chagos Islands were a occupation. It was part of Lanka and was occupied. I have a very, very special guest today, Monidipa and Bose Dey. That's a total name. So without delay, let us welcome her and her work on checking out the textbooks of India and what history has been revisioned. Welcome, Monidipa ji.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So this question comes to the mind, what has been changed? Many people talk about the history books has been changed and this thing. So a little bit, give us your background. You're coming on the show for the first time, and also tell us what has been changed.
Okay, to start with, my master's is on life science, but my passion is heritage. So I've been working for last almost now 8 to 9 years on this. I have a blog. The name is Monigatha. I blog on that. And if you check the blog, you will find that it deals mainly with temple architecture, then with iconography. And my interest is basically focused on the iconography part, where the deities are examined from a different way. See, we go to a temple, we see the murtis, we are we pay our respects, we do our puja, but the iconography is a very different subject. Over there, the deity is explained in a very different way. You understand that each movement has a meaning behind it. The way it is standing, the jewelry that it is wearing, the way it is looking, smiling, the eyes, everything, iconography has a meaning behind it. So if you don't know these things, you'll just see a murti. But when you study iconography, what you will understand, you will see it in a very different way. You will know why Shiva is in different postures. Sometimes he's sitting, sometimes he's standing, sometimes he's interacting with someone. You need to know who he is interacting with, the stories behind the iconography, why the hand is shown in this way. So iconography, the subject, it's very interesting. It's complicated. There is no doubt about it, but it is also very interesting subject. So if you read my blogs, you will find I've taken up deities and explained the iconography of each deity. So that is my focus. That is basically my focus on the book that I'm writing is going to be published soon. It is on temple architecture. It will be on iconography, and it will take up some of the Himachal temples. I have written on Himachal temples because when I was visiting that place, I go there almost twice or thrice a year. I came to know that I'm a Bengali. I'm from West Bengal. What connected me with Himachal Pradesh is that I learned that 2 of the famous Bengal dynasties, the Pala kings and the Sena kings, they had migrated to Himachal Pradesh. They had gone to the Mandi Valley and the Kulu Valley, where they ruled for many, many centuries. And especially the Pala kings, they had taken Bengali communities and settled them there. So what is very interesting is that the people now living in the Kulu Valley, which we call Himachalis, are actually descendants of Bengalis. So that is what interested me very much. And so I took up the Himachal temples built by these Bengali kings once and put it in the second half of my book. So basically that is my introduction, life science student, but now into heritage and temple architecture iconography. And when we start talking about the history textbooks,
So what is the
why it
impact? What is the impact do you see on the Indian students who are actually studying these histories on them when they study these textbooks? And despite since 2014, India has grown a lot under the new Prime Minister Modi ji, and it has been people love him all over the world, including US. We had 60,000 people in Houston, and
Yes.
wherever he goes, he's like a bigger celebrity than even Hollywood stars. So, so what? I mean, why they have not been changed so far? Because history, I'll tell you one thing. In the US, the entire history is written from the European point of view. So
Obviously, they went and settled there.
The Europeans settled here.
Yes.
They displaced Native Americans, and
Mm-hmm.
they wrote as if Native Americans had no culture. They came here to civilize them. That's how they
Yes.
justify the occupation of USA. And now America name is named after a Portuguese guy, Amerigo Vescopuli. Even not even the native name here. It was in the British Chronicle written as India. So everyone was searching
Yes.
for India,
Uh-huh.
and that's why I wrote my last book also, Gold, Glory, and God. I say it is my duty to Native Americans to tell the history, because everyone came for me and killed them. But so why this has been not been changed before we move on to what needs to be changed?
Why this has not been changed is the question. Yes, we should really ask the government why they haven't changed, because it's now 8 years running, and not, I won't say they haven't changed anything. There has been some changes, but see, we need to change more, and we need to change it faster. Late, if we do it, sit back and say that no, we will do it slowly, it's not going to work, because the brainwashing has been going on for 70 years. And if you see, if you don't change it right now, then the students will not be able to they will not be able to see what the changes are, because they're still into this old Aryan Dravidian. When they speak, they will speak that way. So that needs to be changed very fast. Why is there still Aryan Dravidian theory running on? It shouldn't be that way. So why it hasn't been changed? I feel the government has taken it very lightly. And if I may say it, I'm going to be politically incorrect over here. The students don't form to be a voters' bank. So maybe that's why the government is not giving them attention. Maybe this is all my own personal opinion, because I'm very disappointed in this regard. I had hoped that the changes would come fast. The changes did not come. Initial 4 or 5 years, no changes were done. The changes came only in the last 2 or 3 years. There have been changes, but they're very slow. The books are full of leftist ideologies, theories, where they praise the invaders, where the Islamic architecture is praised. They talk of architecture and they discuss only Islamic architecture. These are there in the textbooks, and nothing has been changed. So you can say that I'm very disappointed in this regard. I had tweeted a lot on this, but the ministers, let's say the ministers, did not really take it like that, did not give it so much seriousness. Only our prime minister cannot do everything. All the ministers need to work also. So I'm disappointed with the education ministers. Even after the change, things are moving, but still slowly. So I think the government needs to really look into this, and needs to look very hard into this. This is my viewpoint on the government work on the changes that has not been done.
So let us move to what has to be changed and which age group has to be changed.
What has to be changed is the entire history from class, let's say from class 4, 5 onwards till class 12, everything has to be changed.
Can you give us examples like what is being taught in the class 4? And I know you have some.
I'll give you a very nice example how smartly they have designed it. They have done the Hindu kings, Guptas and the Mauryas at a very young age, 4 or 5 years, for class 4, 5, 6, something of that zone. They have done it then. Students study will not be so much interested. As it is, the presentation is not very interesting also. That also needs to be changed a lot. So the students will learn at an age when they're not interested. Interest is developing. They might not like what they're reading. So they will read, but they will forget. Mughal period is taken up in the time, class 8, 9, 10, when the students will remember history. You see the smartness, you understand the smartness, what they have done. The Hindu part is done when the students are just learning, they will not be interested, they will not remember. The Mughal part is done when the students will remember history and it goes into the brain. So this is how smartly it has been planned. This has to be changed. Because our history is not invaders' history. They came, they damaged, they ransacked, they did a lot of horrible things. So why should that be given so much space? That must be made shorter. We must learn the older kingdoms which exist. The 16 Mahajana Padas, if you ask the students, nobody will be able to give you the names. Why? Because we are not taught. And these 16 Mahajana Padas are where you will learn that India had democracy and republic. One major thing is that we are taught India had kings. We had no democracy, we had no republics. But when the 16 Mahajana Padas will be taught, they are not taught. Those names are given which people will not, students don't remember. So you will know that we had very well established republics then. Democracy, where the voice of the common people were very strong. They were there. Kings were also there. Monarchies were also there. But these were also there. These are never taught. These needs to be taught at an age where the students will remember. Remove the Mughal part from there, from the 8, 9, 10, when the students start remembering history, and bringing this history. Bring the old Nanda dynasty, the Mauryan dynasty. Bring this at the time when the students remember history. Bring them in when you are doing 11 and 12. Instead of devoting one full year to European history is necessary, but don't devote one full year to world history. You do your Indian history in a much better way. Indian history is there for 1 year, European history, world history is there for 1 year, class 11 and 12. Remove the world history, shorten it, make Indian history, because you are not giving any importance to it in the earlier time also. Take up all that older dynasties which people haven't heard of. Take them up, teach them that the Kakatiya dynasty in the 12th, 13th century in Telangana was a very powerful kingdom, but nobody knows the name. I didn't know the name when I went to visit the temples. Then only I studied them. And it's an amazing what they have done and what they had done in Telangana. They had dug up tanks, ponds for the common people because water crisis was there. So they used to do this. And they changed wasteland into a fertile country where now agriculture is thriving. Why? How? The Kakatiyas did it. But how many people know the name of this kingdom? They had one king, Queen Rudrama, who was a warrior, fought with so many people. Nobody knows her name. So these things need to be changed. We need to focus more on the Indic history. And instead of Razia Sultana and the Mughal history, we need to focus more on the Indian history. We need to know more names of these kings and queens. These are all warrior. This Rudrama, if you read Rani Rudrama history, the amount of war she's fought, I think many kings haven't fought that much, but we don't know her name. This is a very sorry state of affairs in history books. This is what needs to be changed. If you, like in class 7, they had this topic of architecture, Indian architecture. You know what they do? They take up just one paragraph of Hindu temple architecture, and the entire rest part is Mughal gardens, Mughal architecture. This is how they teach. So we are not a country of Mughals. They are invaders. They came from outside. We are a country of Indian people. Our civilization started I'm just talking about the civilization when settlement started, the Harappan era, pre-Harappan era. We are some 8,000, 9,000 years old when people were civilized. Take up that part, go back. Even in the Harappan part, they don't teach properly. They don't take up thing that Lothal port was such an important port where trade was going on with Mesopotamia from 2,500, 3,000 BC. They don't take up these parts. Why? This is our history. Mughal history is just a phase where the invaders came in, destroyed, did whatever they feel, converted, rape, all horrible things they did. Why do we study the history? We will study, it's a part of the course, we will study the history, but don't devote entire chapters, years for them. That's what they do. That needs to be changed. We need to study our history. We started from the Harappan, the pre-Harappan era when they settled down. Start that way from the fourth class, fifth class. Start with the Harappan era. There are very interesting books. Recently, the National Museum has published a book which is very nicely done. Take up such books for the students, make it interesting, put up pictures. But these are not there. Books are very boring. Students for class 5, 6, 2 years, those standard students will not remember them. So when they move on from the Hindu period, they will remember the Mughal period because that is being taught, and when they are a little more mature, they will remember Mughal period. It's very smartly planned. That needs to be changed. Everything needs to be changed in Indian history.
You very, I mean, this is the first time I've heard. So thank you for analyzing that way, that they've rearranged it in such a way that the younger age groups will study the Hindu history and they forget it. And also I've seen a lot that if you look at countries like USA, where they have purposefully eliminated Native American history. And then they have, and countries like Vietnam, which have purposefully eliminated any European history. They always consider Europeans as a conquerors. And that is the reason.
That's how it should be looked.
And that's how they were able, that is the only country which has been able to defeat USA at the peak of its military strength. All other countries have been able to defeat USA also. USA has been defeated by many countries, but the Vietnamese have defeated USA at the peak of the military thing. Now, the question comes in, if you look at Thailand now, Thailand has become a new playground for Chinese and Americans and other places. But the Thai history teaches the right history. They don't teach you the conqueror's history. Only in India and also in, which is conqueror's history, which is despite being 85% Hindu, and also in the Pakistan and Bangladesh scenario, they only teach
totally distorted history.
Total conqueror's history. So can you give us examples of what has been changed? Because I think you have those web tabs open.
What has been changed?
Yes.
In history, nothing much has been changed. What I read was in class 10, they taught about Gandhi over there. That chapter was very nice.
No, you're writing a research paper. You're writing a research paper. So based on the research paper, what are things?
My research paper is not on this part. My research paper is different. I'm writing on a different part totally altogether, Harappan, mother goddess and all. The changes that have been made, it's very little. I have seen changes, like they have not said Gandhi is they have a chapter on Gandhi, class 10, where they have not portrayed him as a national leader anymore. They have given his movements and they have indirectly said that he is responsible for the failure. These movements are all failure movements. They have done this change. This much I must give it to them. They have done this change. It was very interesting how they've done it. They have not demeaned him. They have not said anything bad about him. But once you read the chapter, you will understand that Gandhi is a failure. This has been done. This is a very interesting they have done. And I liked it what they did. This is the only change I saw. Rest part needs to be changed.
Yeah. Completely. What needs to be changed? Like, according to you, what needs to be changed?
Okay, let us start with what needs to be changed. I will first take up the topic of Aryan Dravidian theory. This is still taught. It has not been changed. Aryan invasion theory is a dead theory. Still, it is there in the book. It mentions, why should it be mentioned? If it's a dead theory, if it doesn't, it's a false theory which was made by this left academicians. It was made basically, they wanted to prove Hindus are coming from outside, so that they can say that, see, you all are outside, the Islamics also, the Islamic invaders are also outside, the British is also outside. So what does it matter? There's a country of outsiders. This is what they wanted to prove, the Marxist historians. But that is not true. There is nothing called Aryan invasion. It has been proven there has been no wars, no invasion has taken place. The Indians were living here. There's a theory that from Africa, migration happened. The original people came from Africa. Let us stick to that. There are various other theories, but the one theory which is found favor with everyone, that Africa was the main point from where they later scattered. One branch came to India, and when the branch came, it separated. One came to India and the other went to Iran and that side. So the DNA tests have also proven that Indian DNA has more of Southeast Asian DNA rather than the Western side. What the DNA test has interesting proven that it is quite likely that the out of theory India migration could be true. So basically, people, when they came from Africa, they entered India, and later they moved out from here to various places. They went to Australia. Some of them went to the Western part, many of them went to the Southeast Asian parts. So this is one theory which is quite likely based on the DNA. But what I will focus on is this Aryan invasion theory. Just hold on. Yeah. This debate, which is still going on every time there is some testing going on, DNA test is happening or something is going on, immediately you will find a lot of articles appearing on the internet, Google, a lot of news coming up suddenly discussing again the Aryan theory. Why this happens? I'll tell you what is the problem. In 2022 calendar came out. IIT Kharagpur released a calendar. I don't know you all have seen it or not. It's a very interesting calendar that they have made, where they have talked about the recovery of the foundations of Indian knowledge system, and various topics were taken and discussed, on which one topic which made the leftists very angry was that why an Aryan invasion myth was forged. They discussed, in the calendar they had written this. And the social media, the leftist reactions were very negative, very angry reaction came out. Problem is that these days, these reactions don't hold water much, because people now read books. Internet, you get everything in PDF. So people now know part of the truth also. Still, it was quite harsh time for the IIT Kharagpur people, because they got a huge backlash from the leftists. This Aryan theory, which started actually in the 16th century, when the Italians came into India, they learned some Sanskrit word and they found it similar to the Latin and Greek. So they found the similarity, and without any evidence, they thought that since we are similar, so we are basically the same group, language group. This was picked up by some of the famous European scholars like Max Muller, Moyer, and they started the Aryan invasion theory, where they claimed that there was a special tribe called the Aryan tribes who came to India in 1500 BC. They destroyed the entire Harappan culture, and then they moved eastward to the Ganga Jamuna Doab. Basically, whole of India, this Aryans moved and they took over. They destroyed everything, they took over. And they were the ones who wrote Vedas as they moved. This was their theory. And they were pushing it for various reasons. Like they found it was easy for them to explain the similarities between Sanskrit and Greek. And they assumed that the Aryans migrated from Europe. So now they are saying that the Europeans came to India and they invaded India, civilized India. That was the first point which British took up. They made this so that they could say that we will civilize you now. Because see, Aryans came from Europe, civilized you, destroyed your very basic Harappan culture. So now we have also come and we will again civilize you. So this was the main reason behind it. And later, Max Muller, of course, said that Aryan invasion theory was not correct, but the damage was done. And after independence, the Indian scholars, the Nehruvian batch of scholars, they kept this invasion theory running because they had some political and ideological benefit from it. They invented non-existent texts. You imagine the amount of distortion that was, you just now listen to what they have done. They have invented non-existent texts which never existed. They invented such names. They deliberately mistranslated texts. The Vedas were mistranslated purposely. Then they invented non-existent archaeological evidences. They distorted archaeological evidences. And then they were recycling long discarded theories which were racial theories, basically. They were misquoting other people. They have done a lot of distortion. This way, a lot of distortions were done. And this theory was British had done this. There was a reason for it, because they were saying that this Indian European languages are created. They came from outside, civilized you, so we are civilizing you. But why the Marxists would do this? Because they kept up that theory so that they can later support the Islamic invasion. You all invaded us. Next came that. This is all a part of the invasion. And one basic thing was that they said that when the Aryans came in, they destroyed the Harappan culture. This is very wrong, because the Harappan culture was not destroyed. It just gradually petered out. And they later, when the more and more excavations came out, it was found that the Harappan culture was a very advanced culture. The Aryans did not come and civilize us. Indians were highly civilized. This was one thing which did not sit well with the leftists. So they came up with the divide of the Dravidian culture. They were saying that the Harappan culture was actually Dravidian culture. That was also a very political game that was playing on. These are all taught in history books. The bad part is you can do your political ideology without adding them into your history books. This was done in history. This was added to the history books, so that people now the South and North divide starts. The Dravidian culture theory is a very recent theory. It's just 18th century theory, which was started and it was imposed on us, saying that the Dravidian culture was, when they found that the Harappan culture was a very advanced culture, and no Aryans came in, they immediately said the Dravidian culture is Harappan. Harappan culture is the Dravidian South Indian culture. South Indian stayed there. So that now there's a division between North and South. This is how the leftists played, and this is what was taught in the history. Why do you think there are so much of clashes in India? Because this is what has been taught to us right from there, that Dravidians and Aryans are North-South people. They are different from each other. The Dravidian culture was superior. These are all wrong theories. These were not, they were nothing to do with the Dravidian culture. The Harappan culture is the basic Indian culture from which parallel, there were many cultures also there in India, South India, Eastern India. The Harappan culture was discovered first, so that became famous. There are settlements in Bengal, there are settlements in South India, but these all ran parallelly, and the Dravidians were superior than the North Indians, nothing of that sort, but these are all taught in the books. Why? Because they wanted to create this political divide so that the students are brainwashed and this political divide is carried on with the students. So when they grow up, they are already divided. That is what has happened in India. For that, when this Aryan invasion theory was almost dead, again it was revived. Because, this was revived by Shirin Bhatnagar, who came up with a theory that Mohenjo-daros, they had found some skeletons. Few skeletons were found in Mohenjo-daro, which were burned. And they wanted to say that this is the material evidence for invasion and massacre. But it was not correct. And this was discarded. But again, Shirin Bhatnagar took it up. And she spoke of intense enmity and hatred. Where she got this from, only she knows. Then when she was asked for it, she could not find anything in the Harappan culture. So she took up an evidence from Mesopotamian civilization and said some tablets were found that spoke of damaged cities. What does Mesopotamian civilization tablets got to do with India? Indus Valley civilization is a big question mark. We really don't know. But these theories were taught. Aryan invasion theory, still people are brainwashed, so much brainwashed. No, you spend hours discussing this. I have written so many notes on it, but there are people still who will come out. No, this is not right. You are saying wrong. Aryans, there are people called Aryans. This is because this is taught in the text still. They haven't still removed it. They need to remove it. First, the change they need to make it is, it should be a Sindhu Saraswati civilization, which is not only a Sindhu civilization, it was a Sindhu Saraswati civilization. Saraswati river was turned into a myth by the leftists because they wanted to prove that the Vedas was not written in India. You see the amount of distortions. First, Aryans come in, they civilized India, then they found no, Harappa is an extremely civilized civilization. They had this extremely advanced water system, bathrooms and toilets, and everything is very highly advanced. So immediately it becomes, no, this was a Dravidian civilization, the South Indian civilization, which means North was not civilized. This Dravidians moved to the South and North was not civilized. There's again a division was created between North and South. Then they couldn't prove that there were any invasions. There were no fight. There are no signs of any fight. They created fake theories of Mesopotamian tablets. Mesopotamian tablets related to Mesopotamia. Why should they be related to India? So, but they did that. They put up, Shirin Bhatnagar is known as to be a well-known historian. No? You must have heard her name, Shirin Bhatnagar. But she did this. She explained it with Mesopotamian tablets that India's Mohenjo-daro people were faced invasion. They were brutally killed. This is how false theories they made. They purposefully misinterpreted Vedas. Especially when they came to discussing the Saraswati civilization, they purposefully created lines. They purposefully misinterpreted lines to tell people that no, Saraswati is a myth. You see, whenever you open a book, you'll find the word mythical written before Saraswati. Why? It was a river. It is proven river. Rig Vedaka, if you read the Nadi Stuti, they have the rivers all lined up according to the position. It starts with Ganga, then Jamuna. Then they mention Saraswati. Then they mention Sattology. Now, they are saying the Saraswati is mythical. How is that the Rig Vedic people are giving the exact locations of Ganga, Jamuna, and Sattology? And in between Jamuna and Sattology, they are placing Saraswati. Why will they make up a river over there? Why should they create a mythical river suddenly and put in when all the rivers are existing? I hope you get the point of view. All other rivers are still existing. They are still running, flowing. Courses have changed. Why Saraswati died out was because Jamuna and Sattology changed course. But the problem is that these people are saying the Saraswati is entirely mythical. How? Then why does the river Nadi Stuti in Rig Veda have this name? Properly placed in, but if you see the name placement of the rivers in the Stuti, you will find it's properly placed. But these people have changed it into mythical rivers. So the word mythical was added to the front of Saraswati. And it is brainwashed. Every time you write Saraswati, you put the word mythical in front. So at the point, even if the mythical is not there, your brain is function to see the word mythical. The word is not there, but you will still see it's mythical. That's how it became mythical to many people. Last generation people, it started from the 80s. This turning Saraswati to mythical started from the 80s under the Irfan Habib, historian. I will not call him a historian. I'll put the inverted commas on the word historian. They started this. They completely wiped out the R.C. Majumdar and all the prior historians who had worked on all this history. It was gone out of print. People could not get it. And at that time, there was no internet. No people could not get PDF. They could not get any of those scholarly journals. So they had to read what Irfan Habib and his allies were presenting to us. And if you read his books, you will be angry if you read his books, sir. Turning Saraswati to mythical was his brainchild, almost. And the way they turned it into a mythical is, I have written an article in First Post for this. I can give you the link if you can show it to the students. It is very interesting how they turned it into a thriving river, which is of course now dead because the upper part only has the monsoon region, which is now known as the Ghaggar River, and the lower part is in Hakra, which is in Pakistan. And now the sites that are coming up are all being found in this river valley, dead river valley of Saraswati, which was once there in the Hakra. Most of the sites, if you read those recent papers, you'll find are on this bed of this river now. They turned this entire river into a mythical river. It was said that, I'll tell you what Irfan Habib said. I've written it in my article. Wait. It was a mild river. It was. It never really existed. He said that the Vedic Saraswati was a mythical river. It is an abstract concept of a river Devi, he said. He said that it never existed. It was just a concept of a river goddess. And it never really existed. He said this in 2000. But this is in complete contrast to when you read the ancient literature, the Vedas. If you read it, you will find that it is completely given in the sequence of how it existed, thrived once, it was flourishing once, how it slowly started declining, and how it later disappeared. It is given very details in the Vedas and the Mahabharata. If you read those books, you will find how well they knew the landscape and how well they documented. This was entirely turned into a mythical story. As you said, mythical, the word mythical. It's sometimes when I read them, I find that how much effort and how much thought they have put into it. And to turn an entire river into a mythical river, especially when they have this Nadi Stuti Sutta, which clearly marks the position of the river between Jamuna and Sattology. And all the rivers are alive, all the rivers are flowing, only one river suddenly becomes mythical. And the way then there is another person, Rajesh Kochhar in 2000. This is all happening in the 2000 time zone. When the Saraswati, he said, was in Afghanistan. He said Saraswati didn't exist in India. Saraswati was in Afghanistan. But the Nadistudi Sukta clearly marks it in India, between Jamuna and... They are disregarding Rig Vedas. They are disregarding Rig Vedas. They are saying that the Rig Vedas, indirectly saying Rig Vedas verses are false. What we are saying is correct. Either it is a mythical river, which was a concept of to make people understand the concept of river Devi, goddess. It was created, or it is not in India, it is in Afghanistan. They were disregarding entire Vedas. So these parts are there in the textbooks, which needs to be changed. You need to give up the modern research papers, which have done a lot of researches on this. The paleo channels have the satellite images are there, where they showed the satellite images are fantastic. You must see the satellite images where they have shown that there was once a complex network of a large river with many channels. It's very clearly seen from the satellite images. So you know there was a river which is dead. The upper part is still there. The monsoon part, when the monsoon is there, the water flows. That is still there. Then one researcher in Pakistan had also found a lot of sites on the lower part of the Saraswati river, which is now known as Hakrana in Pakistan. But all were disregarded. Everything was said that they are all false. What we are saying is correct. And at that time, they have complete control of the academia and the media. So nobody knew actually what was going on. So they brainwashed the students. The easiest way is to brainwash the students and create an entire generation which will be reading these lies, and they will be believing these lies, because there is no other source to contradict this. Rasi Mujumdar was insulted by the Nehruvian scholars. After he died in the 80s, in 1980, I think he died. After that, his books went out of print. Everything was done with a very, very well planned way. His books went out of print. People could not access them. And what the materials available were, these people were writing textbooks. Thapar, Habib, they were the ones who were controlling it. They were writing the NCERT textbooks. Those are still followed now. And these things need to be changed. We need to first call our civilization as Sindhu Saraswati civilization and not the Indus Valley civilization. Their changes have been, when I went to the National Museum, I saw a gallery which they have named as the Sindhu Saraswati. But these have to come into the textbooks. Changing in museum and such places is very good, but you need to brainwash the students. What the leftists did was brainwash the students. Now you need to brainwash the students with the true history. This is how it has to start. You need to start right at the base point. The root is the Sindhu Saraswati civilization. You need to start from there. You put in these things, you put in the research papers, give them in simple language, give the satellite images, students will be interested, and present it to them and rewrite the history. Start right from the beginning, then move on to the next, the 16 Mahajana Padas tell them India had republics, democracies. We are a very ancient, our democracy came first. Where is it mentioned in textbooks? No one mentions it.
Your camera, your computer is a little bit lower down so you can come on the screen. Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, much better, much better.
Yeah. So you need to focus on these. Speak of them. Our democracy is the oldest democracy. We gave the world democracy. We need to say this loudly. I think our Prime Minister said this in one of his recent talks. He has said this.
Actually,
that India has.
Yeah, actually,
we have given democracy to everybody. Greece has learned it from us. The Lichavi dynasty they had a fantastic democracy where a criminal, could not be sentenced so easily. He has to pass through 7 stages of judiciary. Has any part of the world given this level of freedom to a person where you are tried by 7 levels of judiciary, and if one level says that you are innocent, you can walk out free? Which country gave this? I'm talking about 6th century BC. Which nation gave it to us? No one. Actually, India gave it to the world.
Yeah, actually, what is happening is like the European supremacy. The Europeans wanted to prove they're more civilized, therefore they have the right on everybody. Even today, it continues. The US and the Europe, they pass judgment on human rights on everybody else,
Oh,
while they have the worst human rights. We all
worst
know
human
that.
rights abuse.
You know,
They wiped out the Americans, Native
Native
Americans.
Americans, they wiped out. Native Europeans, they wiped out.
Smallpox was introduced for that reason. Huh? I have read Christian evangelist thing where they were celebrating that the smallpox has been introduced and tribes are being wiped out.
Yeah, that's what
This
they
is what has happened in America.
Church celebrated that. Yes, you're right.
Yes, it happened in America.
And also they were also celebrating when they used to put Native Americans as slaves in their churches.
Yes.
21 missions in California, which were Junipero Serra when he came here, they were all Native American slave sites. Even today they are continuing. And so they will not give up. So it's not it's about they believe that they brought civilization. They have been programmed to believe that they brought civilization to the world.
Yes. That's what they told us when the British came in. The British women, they used to come to India and tell us that we will civilize you. The women especially were very radical. The evangelists also came. Some of the things that I've read, I'm not going to mention here, but they were all very radical people. St. Xavier's, it's a glorified school, St. Xavier's in India.
The word democracy is misunderstood in India. Because many English words, there is one connotation, one is denotation. The word democracy was introduced in USA in 1908 properly, not 1776. 1908, the European settlers became more in number than Native Americans. And that's when they were allowed to vote, that too selectively. Otherwise, they were not allowed to vote. So this is how the USA, Australia, all these lands were captured. So now they're lecturing the whole world. So
they should not speak about democracy. We are the ones who give the world democracy.
Yeah, but the thing is, when you always defend and react, nobody's going to listen. So we have
to force yourself. We have to now speak very forcefully and say, look, boss, we give you democracy. We had democracy in 6th century BC.
No, the European civilization is not going to listen to you and me or anyone else because they're not going to listen. So the best way to do it is de-recognize their books in India.
Absolutely, I completely agree.
Once you de-recognize their book, they'll start changing their textbooks. Because
absolutely.
In India, there is a saying, "Laaton ke bhoot baaton se nahi mante." They live like that. That's why you see that everywhere in the world, and people do not know, many Europeans do not know, that the only country which defeated Europeans in a straight naval fight was Marthand Varma and many other leaders from South India. In 1741, he defeated the Dutch Navy. And that was a straight fight, not even on the sides, it was a straight fight. And from that time, they understood that trade is the only way to conquer India.
Yes.
And changing their textbooks. From that time. It was from East India Dutch Company, not English company.
Oh, that is a very interesting topic.
Okay, and so many people who are proud of Jahangir and everyone else, Europeans used to bribe him with women and clothes. And they took away all the wealth of India from Calcutta port. Calcutta port was a main port where Jahangir looted, for his personal. This is what used to happen.
Drug was opium and women. That's what they presented him with, and he was happy.
He was happy with that. So that's how, if people glorify Jahangir.
He was also an outsider. Why should he care for India?
Yeah, I know.
He was also from the outsider.
Exactly. So this is the mindset they are having. So you cannot, as an Indian or anyone, you mentioned many words like Dravid and other places. Dravid is mentioned.
Those who are Dravidian and Aryan. That Fisher line was also created so that when they realized the Harappan culture is very advanced, then they could say that it was a Dravidian culture. You get my point?
Yeah, Dravid was always a region in India because it's mentioned.
It was always a region.
Mahabharata also is mentioned.
It was mostly a language-based thing. This Aryan Dravidian thing is a very linguistic thing, where certain clans would speak a certain language and they were tagged as the Aryan language or the Dravidian language. It has nothing to do with race, community, or anything.
Yeah, actually, the word Dravid comes from three Vida because the three oceans meet. So it's a geographical land, not the cultural land, nothing. Because
no.
Because the language script is Devanagari everywhere.
Yes.
That means the same script being followed everywhere, including Southeast Asia. So this is the last question. So the solution is only that we need to emphatically present it to and the way it works is in the US is they give accreditation and remove accreditation. That's how it works. So some things you have to learn from them also, that if you
Yes.
remove the accreditation of the Western universities, then all this nonsense goes away overnight.
Yes. Absolutely.
Just
See, everybody recognizes power. You have to show your power. You have to show us you are not working as we want to. So you go now. You need to ban some scholars. You need to ban them from doing researching on it, like who I mean, Audrey Trishik and all. You need to ban these people from taking up Indian subjects. No, you will not work because you are giving us fake history. India has to come out
very strongly, because if you do not do that, then it will be too late. And also,
yes,
we have a good example that not a single of the 57 Islamic countries is successful. That means it's a failed model. It doesn't work.
Absolutely.
Even if you give them the land, they're going to destroy it.
Yes,
so
yes.
They're not supposed to, like sometimes, but the Western scholars, the way they work is, if they are weak, they'll try to make friends. So when they are weak, they're trying to make friends with India. It's a Chanakya Niti. But when they are strong, they're going to colonize. They did in the past also. So you have to understand that this is how it works. So this is the time when you are strong, you have to force your policies.
Now you have to, now that we have a strong leadership, our leader is very strong. So now is the time to make these changes and come out very strongly against these fake narratives.
And the best way to do it is de-recognize the universities. Otherwise, like the Hindu history not to be taught by the Americans is rejected. When you do that, like most of the Hindu studies department in the USA are led by the Christian pastors.
No, it should not. They should ban all these things. Why the government is not doing it? It's a question.
Doesn't work. They should. It is the duty of India, not them. India has to pass.
It is the duty of our government to do this. Huh? They take it up and say that you have to ban this.
Exactly. It is. See, the thing is, the point is not to. Americans will not do it. Neither Europeans will do it, because
they will not do it. It's our war. We have to fight it. They will not fight it for us. It's our war. We have to fight it.
All right. Thank you for coming to the show today. And thank you
so much for inviting me. It's a pleasure.
And thank you for all the viewers for watching. And if you have any questions, you can always put on YouTube also. But I got some questions today. I already asked her. And the only
if you want, I can give you my links of the articles. If there is any question, they can read those articles. It will explain things better. Like the Saraswati name, why should it be there? Why is this not a mythical river? The Aryan invasion debate. I can provide you with the links. You can just pass it on to the students if they want it.
Yeah, you can send me the link actually. And then
I will give you all the links.
Yes. And for all the viewers who are watching, do comment on the video. It's a very interesting video. And we also discuss some solutions also, but because the list is so long, the problems, and the first 10 education ministers of India, they did a human job of appeasing the colonial invaders.
Yes. It was a British and Islamic perspective history that was given.
Well, people do not know. If it was not for the British, then no, there will be no Afghanistan, there will be no Pakistan, there will be no Bangladesh, and there will be no
absolutely,
and no Sri Lanka either.
Yes.
So, because the British, they balkanized India already.
They divided India. They destroyed India. The education system. They destroyed it. I will write an article on this British education, how it destroyed our Indic system. That is my next article with first post. So I'll be writing on that.
Now USA being their colony, now we know that USA is doing the work of the Britain now.
Yes.
So Europeanism has taken over USA in many ways, and we'll see how it goes. But the history has a way of repeating itself if you don't learn lessons.
Yes, true.
So thank you all for joining, and thank you for commenting on the videos, and let me know your feedback. Namaste.
Thank you so much.